Smith.
Clap in the thing. Okay. Shall I start?
Yeah, let's go.
Okay. So, Steve, this is your first ever episode of An Unorthodox CEO.
It is.
Here we go.
I read this.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Go for it.
Hello and welcome to An Unorthodox CEO. I am Steve Pickering, and this is a podcast all about the real, unfiltered side of running your own business. And we'll also be talking a lot about working with family too, because there's a lot of family business out there. I'm here and I'm going to share my honest thoughts, experiences and advice to help inspire and support anyone out there who's on their own running their business. Along the way, we're going to be joined by guests sharing their own stories about life in business and hopefully so much more. So, if you're ready, let's get started. Oh, funny.
It's fine.
So here we are, episode 1. And I guess really, why am I doing this? And I asked myself that really. It was prompted actually. What happens is, you're in business and you meet lots of interesting and inspiring people. And a couple of years ago, someone, a mentor of mine and good friend, Paul Hetherington, he challenged me to start writing a weekly post on LinkedIn to share things that happen, the ups, downs, and experiences. And so I met that challenge and I started writing 2 years ago. And every week it posts out on LinkedIn. And the response back was so humbling, I guess, and overwhelming, with people contacting me on all the various subjects and things that I was writing about, relating to them and saying how much it helped or inspire them to do different things in their businesses. It just snowballed, and I guess in some way I found I suppose relief, and writing gets your thoughts out and going back over various things that had happened, and it was a release, and also if it helps someone else, then it was a double whammy really. So I continued to do that. Anyway, from there, really the natural thing is to start talking about it, meet other people, and go podding.
How did you feel when you posted your first post on LinkedIn? What were you expecting?
I guess really not a lot. You always think, you always think you're a small little business and really not many people are interested in what you're doing. But actually, there's a lot of people interested, a lot of people going through the same pains, issues. And I think it's good to know that others, you're not alone. I guess that's, forgotten the question now, but yeah, see, I'll bamble on.
It's fine. It's fine. I said, how did you feel when you posted your first post?
Yeah, no, it was good. I can't remember the first one. I remember one of the first ones that really took off, which was about myself, being myself, and I can't remember what I called it actually. But it was all about really stepping away from the facade. In business, everybody the perception is we all wear suits and ties and all stuffy, and I am definitely not like that. And I wrote about me being me, wearing Vans shoes, and obviously it really caught a nerve, and it just took off. And I had so many people contacting me that it was a breath of fresh air, actually, that just a normal person running a business. And I guess really that's the first one I remember where it took me back a bit, really. It's like, oh wow, okay. And that's where all this Vans shoes thing comes from. It's like,
Amazing.
in fact, now I don't even own a pair of shoes. I only have Vans. Yeah, so I've sort of pigeonholed myself now. I can't buy any different shoes. Otherwise, I'd be trashing the image, I guess.
It's part of you now.
It is,
That's what
yeah.
it is. So you've got some stats, I think. Do
Yeah.
you want to share about business, maybe for the
I do.
for the
I
listeners
do.
today?
Yeah. So interestingly, I looked this up, and there are 5.5 million private sector business. Yeah. And the interesting fact is that's in the UK. The interesting fact is 5.45 of these are classified as small businesses. So that's a business with 0 to 49 employees. So that's 99%, 99.2% of the total business population are small businesses. And I don't think really we get a big enough voice. Most podcasts are framed around big organizations or fast growing organizations, but actually the vast majority of us are small, medium sized enterprises going through the ups and downs of business. And if you think most businesses that start are from, I don't know if anyone's ever read the E-Myth, which is about most businesses are started by people that do a trade or are a technician within a business, and you think, oh, I could do this. I could do this for myself. Why am I working for someone else? And so you go off and you start a business, and you're very good at that trade, or you're very good technician within your organization. But the big step is knowing that trade is a tiny little bit of running a business, and suddenly you've got to wear so many different hats. You've got to know a bit about marketing, sales, finance, HR, everything. And when you first start, you've got to wear all of those hats, and you go from being a skilled technician within your organization or your company that you're working in, and then suddenly you're dumped into all of this other stuff that you've got to really learn fast. So that's really interesting. And the other big fact on here is family businesses account for 85 to 90% of all private sector businesses. And working with your family, it can be some of the most rewarding, when you all gel together and you're one family working towards one goal. There's probably nothing stronger. But when things go wrong, then it can be the worst place in the world. And, I think, again, there's not enough voice out there for all of those family businesses. So hopefully what the idea is, we'll be covering subjects that relate to all of those 99.2% of businesses out there, families, and just general people out there that have taken that leap to start their own business. So, yeah.
Cool. Thanks. Okay. Ooh, someone's sneezing.
It's a working office, as you can tell, you can hear out there.
Literally. So, Steve, can you tell us all a bit what it was like growing up?
Yeah. So I had a very happy childhood, actually. My dad was a true entrepreneur and done many different things. He owned his own scaffold company, done butchery, bakery, you name it, he done it. Milkman even, actually, I remember him being a milkman. And always self-employed, starting these companies. But my parents then bought. So my grandfather had a general furnishers, and they bought that off my grandfather in 1979. Sold this. We had a lovely house and sold that, and we moved above this shop. So we, as a family, we all lived in this property. The shop was on the ground floor, and then we had a flat above. So we all lived up there. Um, so and that's really where I got my taste of furniture, really. So we lived above. The school was just up the road, and yeah, it was really cool. So I guess, and this is the sacrifices, isn't it, that people make when they start their own business. So mum and dad, obviously, down in the furniture shop, and we were left, me, my brother, and sister who come along as well. We were pretty much upstairs on our own, and mum will always say that she felt so guilty that they were always working downstairs. But you know, if it wasn't for them and the dedication they put into running that, we wouldn't have what we have today. But I was always really interested in what happened in the furniture shop downstairs, and just hang around, and you have to go out on the van and deliver with dad. I mean, because he done everything. He'd do the selling. As I say, you know, when you first start your own business, you've got to wear all hats, and that meant the delivering hat, the carpet fitting. I mean, it was a general furniture, so it was everything: carpet fitting, upholstery, dining, everything. Yeah, it was. They were good, fun times. I remember it fondly.
I've got a picture here actually of Miles.
There it is.
Which is
yeah,
the first
yeah.
general furnishing.
There
I
it
know,
is.
black
Yeah.
and white picture. I'll pop it on the screen for everyone to see if you're
Yeah,
watching. But
it's a lovely old black and white photograph, that
yeah,
actually. So as I say, my grandfather actually bought that from the 1950s. So it's been in the family for many, many years. I think originally Miles was founded in 1907 or something like that. So
wow.
like, you know, yeah, the origins of what you see today go back a long, long way.
Yeah. Would you say that's where your passion for sales came from? From living above that shop?
Yeah, I just fascinated me, you know, watching dad done most of the selling, I guess, but even mum, just listening to him, meeting people. And I remember I've been obsessed with furniture, and I'd make little magazines and take them to school, little projects. So yeah, I guess you could say it was in the blood from a very early age.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely sounds like it. What about a bit of background to Sussex beds? I've got
Yeah.
a couple of pictures
Oh, yeah.
here. I'll show you
Oh,
here. I'll
that
pass it
classic
over.
one there. Yeah, orange. So yeah, I guess this is flashing up on screen now. I wonder who that gentleman is that's walking past that Hastings Bed Centre there. Anyway, so that is the original Hastings Bed Centre, as it is there. It's called there. So that was established in 1981. It started in 1981, and it all stemmed from my parents going off to an exhibition. And it was Silent Night, actually. It was Silent Night that had an exhibition, and they were promoting this new idea of a specialist bed shop. Because up till then, as we looked before, so Miles Furnishers was a general furnishers. Most furniture shops were general furnishers. And this was quite a step away from that, being a specialist in one product. Anyway, they were so inspired by what they saw. They come back, found that shop there, the Hastings shop there, and within a month, 2 months, it was opened, and it just flew. Absolutely, business just boomed. In fact, I think it opened at the beginning of December, and within weeks they had run out of stock. And you know, January sales are always your peak period, and even then, and probably more so, and had to go off and find more products to put in the shop. So it just absolutely flew. So again, another, you know, I really look up to people that are true entrepreneurs who just take the leap, and my father really slots into that just, yeah, that's a great idea. I'm going to go do that. And it takes a lot of balls
Yeah,
and
definitely.
yeah, I think today I'm much more. I need to just check all the statistics and take away a lot of the risks. Whereas my father, I think, had a lot more of that. Yep, let's just do it. And there's a lot to be said about that. That's what really gets the world going. So
Definitely. So you took over the business in 2014?
2014.
Yeah.
So yeah, so the business started from Hastings there, and it went on at the ups and downs of growing and contracting a business, and it went through a very painful period in 2008 with the emergence, many reasons really. There was the emergence of e-commerce, but also the financial crash. But also changing markets. Prior to that, you needed large warehouses to hold lots of stock, but deliveries were becoming much quicker. So we ended up having properties that weren't required, necessary, and it went through a very painful period between 2012, which ended it with a CBA and then eventually the old company into an administration to offload really the properties that weren't needed anymore. And we totally restructured the business in 2014. And I guess really at that point, my father, again with hindsight, what a brave thing to do. We took on a business coach, and he knew that. Well, he even said that it wasn't for him. He would be questioning it, and really then stepped aside for us to start working with a business coach. So in 2014, my brother and myself started with a business coach and put in structure and controls into the business. It's what it needed. Some of the other issues as you grow is keeping control. When it's one store and just one person, it's easy. Communication is easy. It's you and maybe a few other people, but then you get a second store and suddenly there's extra lines of communication, and are they doing things exactly as you, and of course as you get up to 8-9 stores, that just magnifies, and so we started putting in structures. I'd never heard of a KPI until that point, and now I'm obsessed with them. We've numbers and levers to see what is actually going wrong within the business, and that was a huge turning point, because then we started to make decisions on fact rather than gut, and focusing on the driving metrics of the business. I think sometimes you just look at revenue. How can we increase sales? Where do you start? But when you start looking at actually what is it that produces revenue, then such as the average order value, the conversions, and then you can monitor those metrics. You are then in control of those levers, so you can see what's needed, what lever needs to be pushed. We took over and put that in place in 2014, and from there it's still a ride, but we've had good success over the years since.
Yes, definitely, and we'll do more of that in another episode.
Oh,
Definitely.
which I can't wait.
Yeah. Steve, everyone calls you an unorthodox CEO. So where did that name come from?
I'm going to be really honest. I have no idea.
It's fair enough.
Yeah. So I guess someone at some point had just flippantly said, "You are unorthodox, aren't you? The way you work with your family or run your business." And I guess it come from there, really. I don't know who that person was or who they were, but the name seems to have stuck. And it is, I guess, really, when I reflect and look, there's not many people that work with their family as closely as what we do here. I mean, if you look at our leadership team, it's myself, my brother, my sister, my cousin, my wife, and my son. and then going on from there, there's my daughter involved in the business. There's aunties, there's wives, and it is not very unusual or unorthodox. But also, it's I'm lucky to have it. When things are good, we celebrate together. When things are challenging, we come together. So that support network is absolutely crucial, especially the things we've gone through, COVID, Brexit, all of these different things that cause trauma, and it's just wonderful to have that support at work and at home. Yeah, sometimes it does mean that dinners turn into board meetings, but we do try hard not to now. In fact, what's funny is before my children were involved in the business, so we live at home with my parents, which are in an annex, and we'd have dinner together. And obviously, my dad was deeply involved in the business, and myself. And at dinner times, we'd start talking about business, and my children would go, "Oh, why are you talking about business?" And so now it's reversed. It's more them talking about business than myself. So it is, yeah, little quirk, but funny.
So you touched a bit on your vans.
Yes.
Is that's your thing now? Like what can you tell us about that?
Yeah, I guess it's more. It's more. I don't really feel comfortable in shoes, all suited and booted. And as a child, when we talk about living above the furniture shop, it was a tough time, really. Money wasn't plentiful, so everything was being poured back into the business. And I remember that I used to have deckies. They probably weren't vans or branded or anything like that, but and then all the kids up the road had these posh trainers, and I was like, oh wow. But actually, when I reflect back, I quite like it that I had these little deckies that I used to wear. So it stuck with me, really. I suppose it just takes me back to childhood, and they go with anything, jeans, trousers, suits. I think they're great. So yeah, it's stuck with me. I mean, these ones here actually at the moment I'm wearing are a teal colour, but I do quite like the character ones. I've had some SpongeBob ones, I've had some Muppet ones, but they're just a bit of fun. And there's too much seriousness, isn't there, in this world? So just a little bit of fun.
Nice. One thing we spoke about that we should touch on now is about modern leadership and how you put that into Sussex Beds.
Yeah. I guess I am all for modern style leadership, which is not the command and control of old, and it has its place. Don't get me wrong. There's a time and a place where you need to command and control. If there's big trauma and decisions need to be made fast, and you need to direct people quickly, then that is when that style of leadership comes in. But generally, in peacetime, I think more trust and inspiring leadership is far more rewarding, and also productive. Letting people grow, make decisions, make mistakes without fear. At the end of it, we learn so much more through our mistakes than we ever do our successes. And if I look at the stages and steps of our business journey, it was probably the most painful periods every single time that were the most rewarding in learning. Of course, at the time it doesn't feel like it, but when you come out the other side, and you then come out either with better knowledge or understanding or skills, you will be a better business and probably a better person too. I think over all this journey, I've mellowed a lot over the years. In fact, when I look back at when I was younger, I was a fiery little and I'm not so much now. Much more chilled, you know. Just take it as it comes, you know. And I think modern leadership is about really giving that freedom to your team to grow, and because I can't do it all myself, you know, and especially as you grow. As we spoke about earlier, when you're a small business and you're doing everything and you're in control, but if you want, and you should want to, if you want to scale, then you've got to trust other people. And I think trust is the most important thing when you're developing your leadership and your team. And it doesn't mean, and this is the bit that's really difficult, I think, to let go, is, you know, you give a role, a task to anybody, they will do it slightly different to how you will do it, and you've got to accept that. Doesn't mean it's wrong, it's just different to how you do it. They'll put their own mark on it. And I think that's a huge attribute in any business leader, to allow that. I think so many of us, or so many, get stuck in that control mindset that, oh, it's not right, it's not how I would do it. And so I think, you know, for me, modern leadership is absolute necessity to grow a modern business. I think the days of command and control are gone.
So, final question about why you're an unorthodox CEO.
Yeah.
What motivates you in business? What's your...
I think my motivation, what gets me out of bed every day, is new innovation, change. What can we do better? You know, I think, again, it's probably a little bit unusual. I thrive on the new, the different, the change, the exciting, the moving things forward. And I think that's what really gets me out of bed every day. But I think also, you know, motivation is about seeing other people grow and come through our business and become, you know, exceptional, and just take an opportunity and fly with it. You know, I think that is so rewarding. And then I suppose really where LinkedIn and the posting started is I am open. I do love sharing my experiences, and with the hope that it helps someone, you know, because there's been some really dark places that we've been over the years, and if you can just help someone either out of a dark space, or help them avoid going into a dark space, for me that is really motivating too. So I guess a lot of that is about helping and giving and sharing, really. I get a kick out of helping people. Every week we're going to do a tip of the week, and this is time for tip of the week. It might be a tip, it might be a bit of advice, it might be just something that's happened within the week that I just want to share with you. Bit of insight. So I thought I'd kick this off. Obviously we're going to go on this podcasting journey, and I guess what I want to say is, we're going to go through, you know, lots of different ideas that are challenging the norms and going places that maybe people have never been before. Anyway, as business leaders, what I would love you to do is just listen, take on board what's being said, and don't jump to judgment. Reflect, and then make your decision. I think sometimes we can be too quick, too flippant, and dismiss things before really we've had time to digest it. So my thought is, let's just take it on board. Now, it might be in the end that you dismiss it and go, oh, what a load of old rubbish. That's cool. But just take time to reflect, think before making a decision. And let's see if we can change the norms. See if we can all be a little unorthodox. That is my tip of the week.
Steve. So, Steve.
Yeah.
You've done it. First episode.
First episode in the bag. Yeah. Let's wrap this up then, shall we?
Yeah.
Let's wrap this up. And first of all, for anyone out there that's taken the time to listen all the way down to the end is incredible. So thank you very much for listening through right to the end. That's fantastic. My next episode, I'm gonna have my first guest. My first guest is, drumroll, going to be my son, Josh. Yeah, let's introduce you to the first of my family members. I'm sure we're going to go through many, many more, but Josh was eager to get involved, so he has trumped and is going to be our first guest. So we're going to speak to Josh, talk about his experience being a family member within our family business. Hopefully he'll say how wonderful it is, but I'm sure he'll do the negatives too. Anyway, so we're going to meet Josh next week, and then finally I just need to read what's on the card, don't I?
Yeah.
So I'm just hold
Outro time.
Outro time. So this has all been prepared for me. Here we go. And that's a wrap. On our very first episode, I've been asked to remind you to hit that follow button, leave a rating, and maybe even a nice review. Well, actually, any review, because if I could do this better, let me know. I'm all for, and I heard this term only just a couple of weeks ago, feed forward. Yeah, not feedback, feed forward. Apparently, feedback is a negative. You've got to say feed forward. So, yeah, if you can, leave a review, whichever, good or bad, I will take it on board. Algorithms and all of that, it will be fantastic. So that'd be great. Next episode next. This is my reading. I never said actually, I'm a little bit dyslexic. New episodes drop every Wednesday, so don't forget to tune in, log on. And if you want more unfiltered business talk, you can find me on Instagram. Lots of lovely pics on there. YouTube, or you can of course follow me on LinkedIn, which is where all of this journey started, at Unorthodox CEO. Cool. I think that's it. We will see you on the next one. Thank you very much, and good night if you're in bed. Good morning if you're watching in the morning, and enjoy your lunch if you're listening at lunch. Bye now.